The team at Athlon Sports took a look at the importance of individual players to each college football team's success in the 2018 season. It is important to note that there is a difference between most important and most valuable, which is why many unexpected or underappreciated positions come to light in Athlon's breakdown. As Athlon describes it, these players separate themselves by being the one player that can help build positive momentum, and wrap a bow around every Big Ten team's starting 22 on the way to bigger and better things. For many teams scratching their way out of the bottom of the conference, importance begins with a quarterback. A good quarterback can be the difference between another lonely December or a bowling opportunity for the teams outside of the top power segment of the conference. For teams that already have an established quarterback or elite running game, the importance turns to defense with so many Big Ten stars gone as day 1 or day 2 picks in the 2017 NFL Draft. A lot can change between the beginning of July as Big Ten teams prepare for Media Day in a few weeks in Chicago before the start of fall camp at all 14 institutions. With kickoff less than 2 months away in the Big Ten, 247 Sports looks deeper into the most important players by team. Northwestern has solid pieces defensively and the guys in place to be able to move the ball on the ground. But if Coach Pat Fitzgerald wants to have another big year, Clayton Thorson has to be the man to lead the offense in the passing game as a potential first-round selection next year. Athlon says, Jeremy Larkin showed promise and should be able to pull enough attention away from Thorson that the senior will be able to make plays. The quarterback also will have to show that he's fully healed from the torn ACL he suffered in late December in the bowl game. Originally from the Shreveport area, O.J. Smith has one last chance to make an impact, and there is no better place than the Big Ten Western Division to make your name as a run stuffer. How will Smith fare against dynamic run games like Wisconsin and Northwestern? Smith was once the No. 381 recruit in the country and 31st best defensive tackle, according to the 247 Sports composite rankings. Athlon says, while a 3-star recruit, Smith was deemed worthy enough to be brought into the Alabama football program. That's like being handpicked to dine with modern-day college football royalty. Unfortunately, things didn't work out in Tuscaloosa, but where he failed in the SEC, he may thrive in the Big Ten. That's the hope PJ Fleck has, anyway. Speaking of stopping the run in the Big Ten Western Division, Purdue must improve in this category. The Boilermakers were best at the linebacker level last season. While Jeff Brom's boys are sure to put up points in the passing game, the Boilermakers need to find a way to make key stops in what should be close games on the road against the likes of Nebraska and Indiana. Athlon says the Boilermakers will lean heavily on Neal as he is one of 4 returning starters on defense and will serve as the anchor up front. Neal and middle linebacker Marcus Bailey are the only 2 back from a Purdue front 7 that more than held its own last season. Outside of Neal and Bailey and the 2 starting safeties, Jacob Thieneman, Navin Mosley, the rest of the Boilermakers defense will be long on potential but short on experience. Illinois needs a lot of help at quarterback. It looks like Cam Thomas will be that man after Jeff George Jr. struggled through last season in the feature spot and moved on to a role with Michigan. Thomas played in 4 games last year, and was the only one with an ability to make plays with his feet. Athlon says, after missing 2 years with torn ACLs, wide receiver Mike Dudek deserves a good year. If he's going to have one, it'll be thanks to the arm of his quarterback. Thomas, a sophomore, was the only scholarship quarterback with the Illini this past spring, which means even if Illinois can sneak someone else on campus, he's got the leg up and it's a good bet that he'll be Lovie Smith's starter. Rutgers really has not found any consistency at quarterback since Gary Nova graduated. Michigan-born Giovanni Resticno has been a model soldier with the ability to manage games, but has not shown much evolution over the last 3 offensive coordinators. Artur Sitkowski as much as won the job in spring, and is in a position to carry Chris Ash's vision to another level. Athlon says, the Scarlet Knights doubled their win total from year 1 to year 2 in the Chris Ashe era, so obviously, an 8-win Rutgers team will be 2018 Cinderella, right? Well, maybe not, but a step in the right direction could begin with starting Sitkowski, the highly regarded quarterback that played for IMG Academy last year. Ashe could redshirt Sitkowski and let senior Giovanni Restigno mentor him, but the opportunity is there to build a foundation for the future, similar to what Nebraska and Maryland are hoping to do with their quarterbacks. Maryland QB Kazim Hill. Imagine how different last year could have been for Maryland if injuries did not decimate the quarterback room. Heading into 2018, Kazim Hill has the brightest future, and should be healthy. Maryland has a strong offensive line, a reliable tailback, and needs Hill to be the man that glues it together. Athlon says, after leading the Terrapins to a bowl game in his first season, DJ Durkin's team took a step back in 2017, finishing just 4-8. Good news is that Durkin and his staff were able to land a top 30 recruiting class, and the goal is to build on that momentum by getting off to a good start on the field. After being ravaged by injuries last season, Durkin is hoping for better health and more production from his quarterbacks. Marcelino Ball. Indiana's defense is greatly improved from the early Kevin Wilson days. After pitching 2 shutouts last season, the Hoosiers will rely players like Marcelino Ball to take the next step defensively and put pressure on top-level Eastern Division teams. Athlon says, a freshman All-American, Ball notched 75 tackles and 2 interceptions in 2016. Last season was far less kind to the Roswell, Georgia native, as he missed all but the Hoosiers' first 3 games thanks to a leg injury. Indiana needs leadership in a big way, considering only 3 starters return on defense, and given the role Ball is expected to fill at Husky back, where he will shift between playing linebacker and safety. Athlon talks about family ties, and that begins with father Jay Neiman, who enters his 3rd season as defensive coordinator at Rutgers. Nick Neiman is an essential piece of what comes next defensively for Kirk Ferentz. His role expands in a major way after 5 tackles in 5 games as a freshman. Instead of looking at Nathan Stanley or Noah Fant, it's defense first for the Hawkeyes. Athlon says, the Hawkeyes rightfully pride themselves on their linebackers, and unfortunately, their top 3 from last season, Josie Jewell, Bo Bauer and Ben Neiman, are all gone. This means every starting spot is up grabs heading into the fall, and there are plenty of candidates. Enter sophomore Nick Neiman, Ben's younger brother. He saw extensive special teams action last year, which should serve him well as Iowa looks to refortify a position that has long been a strength. Michigan State is always at its best with a real pass rush. The Spartans proved they are a dual threat offensively, and the secondary is far too deep to name any one player most important. When it comes to the front 7, putting pressure on quarterbacks like Shea Patterson, Trace McSorley and Dwayne Haskins is the only way Sparty gets back to the Big Ten title game. Athlon says, what's the difference between great and elite? For Michigan State's defensive line, that'd be Panasiuk. The sophomore will be battling for the starting defensive end role opposite Kenny Wilkes. However, if he can hold Justice Alexander at arm's length, Panasiuk could easily be a key part of a defense that only looks to improve after a 2017 season in which the Spartans finished 7th in the nation in yards allowed per game and 2nd against the run. Wisconsin's front 7, led by T.J. Edwards, is quite talented, but one can never have enough defensive backs with the way top Big Ten teams have been able to air it out. It is hard to not look at Jonathan Taylor as most important, given his chances at being the best player in the conference in terms of production. Athlon says, as a redshirt freshman, Carriere Williams played in all 14 of the Badgers games, registering 30 tackles, 22 solo, 6 pass breakups and an interception. Wisconsin was stout on defense last season, including 5th nationally against the pass. It's now up to Carriere Williams and the rest of the young Badger defenders to maintain that level of performance. It is hard to view any player as more valuable than Trace McSorley for Penn State between his Heisman hype and the loss of so many skill players from last season, but Athlon gives the edge to Saquon Barkley's projected successor. Tommy Stevens must have inspired confidence with the offseason to go somewhere other than McSorley for the most important player in Happy Valley. Athlon says, "Okay, maybe it's not as simple as it sounds, but the junior could be the next best thing to getting Barkley back for another year. This could be Sanders' breakout year, especially with quarterback Trace McSorley taking some of the pressure off of him. With those two in the backfield, scoring points should not be a problem for Penn State's offense. This one is simple. The Nebraska quarterback battle is ongoing, but if the Huskers really want to push the pace in year one, it means Adrian Martinez seizes the job and gives Scott Frost the kind of value Mackenzie Milton offered in the early stages. Spring games are primarily meaningless when it comes to stats, but Frost needs more of that Martinez product come September." Athlon says, "With any other head coach in town, Martinez's hype likely overshadows everyone else in Lincoln, football player or otherwise. Instead, the true freshman will have to settle for being the likely starter of Scott Frost's team looking to implement his unique style of offense in the Big Ten." Martinez has already drawn comparisons to former Cornhuskers quarterback Taylor Martinez, no relation, for his mobility, though ideally, his passing doesn't include the YOLO bombs that Bo Pelini's Martinez was well known for. If any quarterback on Nebraska's roster can get the Huskers to a bowl, it's no. 2. Any Michigan fan that watched the frustration and flubs of the Ocorn, Peters, Spade season knows what it means to have an elite guy like Shea Patterson as the guy. No off-season decision shaped the Big Ten season outlook more than the immediate eligibility ruling for Patterson after leaving Ole Miss. Athlon says, "Michigan will be trotting out one of the nation's best defenses this season, and if Jim Harbaugh's going to maximize his team's potential, the Ole Miss transfer needs to have an impressive year." Donovan Peoples-Jones and Tariq Black give Patterson an incredibly talented duo of receivers to connect with, while running back Karen Higdon forces defensive coordinators to respect his presence in the backfield. Patterson also is capable of making things happen with his legs. This was an unexpected pick. Who would be more important than Dwayne Haskins with Joe Burrow no longer available as a backup? Could Ohio State's running back room really make up for J.K. Dobbins if something happened? How important is Joey Bosa after the Buckeyes lost 3 other defensive linemen to the NFL draft? For Athlon, linebacker is where there could be a difference from a top 10 finish and a spot in the college football playoff. Athlon says, "Once again, the Buckeyes are the favorite to represent the Big Ten in the college football playoff despite needing to replace 6 starters on defense. And technically it could end up being 7 as middle linebacker Tuf Borland suffered an Achilles injury in the spring, which puts his 2018 season in jeopardy. Browning and Justin Hilliard will compete for Borland's starting spot, a battle that won't be settled until fall camp. While both came to Ohio State as 5-star prospects, Browning appears to have a slight advantage and certainly has the frame, 6'3", 238, to man the middle of the Buckeyes' 4-3 alignment.